Where do you see yourself in 10 years? A strange question, isn't it? After all, time passes regardless of our will. 10 years will inevitably go by and we will inevitably end up somewhere. But where we arrive, that is a matter of choice. And here's the paradox. Most people pay more attention to where to go on vacation for a week than to where they are heading in life for a whole decade. Isn't that strange? Today we will look into the mirror of the future and ask ourselves, do my daily steps actually lead me to the place where I truly want to be? Stay with me until the end, because that's where I will give you a practice that will help you confidently say, yes, I know where I will be in 10 years. 10 years, it sounds like a long time, almost an eternity, but tell me honestly, do you remember how the last decade passed? It flashed by like a single moment. We look back and wonder, just yesterday there were plans, just yesterday there were dreams, and today some of them remain only on the pages of old journals or in memory as unfulfilled hopes. And here is the main paradox. We always underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years while at the same time overestimating what we can accomplish in a single day or week. That's why so many lose their direction. They live in a whirlwind of small matters while the decade slips by like a train they never boarded. I remember myself at 25 very well. No money, no prospects, just a pile of excuses. I used to say it's all the company, it's all the economy, it's all the politicians. But then I was asked a question that changed everything. Jim, where will you be in 5 years if you keep doing the same thing? It terrified me because the answer was obvious. In the same place, only more tired and more disappointed. And that's when I first understood the truth. The future doesn't come by chance, it is shaped by a daily program. What we read, who we spend time with, how we use our morning hours, all of this are little seeds that over time yield a harvest. And there is no magic here. If you sow weeds, don't expect a garden. If you sow discipline, knowledge, gratitude every day, you will reap a harvest that will surprise both you and your loved ones. I call this the law of inevitability. You will certainly arrive somewhere in 10 years. The only question is, are you consciously paving that path, or are you allowing randomness to drag you anywhere it pleases? Most people hope that somehow everything will work out. They live on hope, as if hope alone will create a garden. But hope without action is a dangerous illusion. It makes the years empty and life sad. Think about it. Why do people so carefully plan a one-week trip, tickets, hotels, routes, yet so rarely plan their own life for 10 years? Why do they entrust to chance what defines their destiny? This is where the philosophy of choice is hidden. Every day is a small brick in the building of our future. And if today you allow yourself to do nothing, tomorrow you'll have to live in a house built out of that nothing. One question has always fascinated me. Can I look at myself 10 years from now and say, yes, I'm glad to meet this man? Because if the answer is no, it means I must change my path right now. I don't want to wake up a decade later with the feeling that time has passed, but I remain the same. And I'm sure you don't want that either. That's why today we are beginning a conversation not about how to survive, but about how to live in such a way that in 10 years you can proudly shake your own hand. And believe me, you don't need to turn the world upside down. You only need a few new disciplines, a few changes in thinking, a few decisions you make today. And those are exactly what will determine who you become tomorrow. I often say, the future is not a lottery, it's the bill for the little things we do every day. When I was 25, I woke up with an unpleasant thought. I'm honest, I work from morning till night, yet my pockets are empty, my head is noisy, my heart is anxious. I was waiting for a big chance, but big chances don't like those who wait. And then my mentor asked me something simple but painful. Jim, what books are you reading? What thoughts do you let into your home? What actions do you take? You repeat when no one is watching. I realized I was building a decade out of accidents. How long does such a building stand? Not long. So that day I declared, no more fooling myself. The day I replaced hopes with habits. The first thing I changed was my morning hour. Before I woke up and immediately rushed into business. Now I began by laying 3 bricks on the table. A thought, a word, an action. A thought. That was the guard at the door of my mind. I no longer let everything in. I didn't need gossip, complaints, powerless news before coffee. I needed ideas that pointed me in the right direction. A word, that was the record in my journal. Why? Because memory is a poor accountant. It loses the most valuable entries. And an action, that was a small step I could take today, not tomorrow, not when I have time. That's how I built my day, and the day built me. Perhaps you're thinking, Jim, I don't have opportunities. Listen carefully. Opportunities are the doors discipline sees. When you read 10 pages daily, in a year that's a library. When you take one smart action for your health each day, in a year that's a different person in the mirror. When you call one client or write one honest letter to friends each day, in a year that's a support network. You won't feel magic on day 2, but on day 300 you'll ask, how did all this happen? It happened quietly, while you weren't waiting for applause, but just working. The second big turning point, I stopped blaming the world and started raising my own bar. I used to say, it's all the company, it's all the market, it's all the boss. Now I ask myself, who must I become so that this market notices me? And I discovered a formula that stunned me with its simplicity. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Not because the job isn't important, but because the market doesn't pay for hours, it pays for value. Become more valuable and your hours will begin to cost differently. It's a painful realization because it removes all excuses. But, my friends, along with the pain comes power. As soon as you take responsibility, you take the wheel. The third step, I learned to see a decade as a garden. A garden isn't scolded for not having grown yesterday. A garden is watered today. If you sow chaos, you'll reap weeds. If you sow gratitude, you'll reap peace. If you sow skill, you'll reap results. So I chose a few seeds: reading, journaling, learning, training the body, honest conversations. Not 10, not 20, a few, because it's not about the number of good intentions, but about the number of daily repetitions. Here's a little secret that saves from disappointment. Better a little every day than a heroic push once a month. Heroism burns out, habits hold. And now let me ask you directly, to bring our conversation to life, are you reading the books right now that will take you where you want to be? Do you keep a guard at the door of your mind, or do you let every guest in without question? Are you planning your decade, or have you let chance become your architect? Don't rush to answer out loud. Answer honestly, to yourself. We'll still have a practical part at the end where I'll give you a few tools to lock in a new route. But for now, a bit of silence and truth. It's in that silence that new decisions are born. I wasn't special. I had no titles and no influential acquaintances, but I gained respect for time. Time is more valuable than money, because money can be earned again, but an hour, never. When I grasped that, I changed my spending style. I stopped giving my time to people and things that didn't lead me to my garden. Does that mean I became colder? Number. It means I became more precise, because every hour given either builds the house of the future or crumbles into sand. From then on, I measured my day not by the number of meetings, but by the number of steps taken toward my chosen goal. Here's another story. Once I asked a young entrepreneur, "What do you want in 10 years?" He said, "Freedom." I smiled. Good word. Now the harder question, what 2 habits will you plant today so that freedom can grow? He was silent. You see, friends, the word freedom doesn't grow on a wasteland. It loves soil of responsibility, watering of discipline, sunshine of knowledge. So when you speak a big word like freedom, wealth, peace, immediately add to it a small daily factor, the great lives on the shoulders of the small. And one more important thing that people rarely talk about. We mustn't confuse kindness with softness toward our own weaknesses. I love people, but I don't pamper my excuses. When I catch myself thinking later, I ask, and what exactly will change then? The weather? Taxes? My character? If my character doesn't change, the weather in my life won't either. So I made a deal with myself. If a task takes less than 5 minutes, do it now. If it takes longer, write it down and schedule it. This simple rule stopped the chain of procrastination and opened strange doors. A small completed task sparked the desire to do another small one, and 2 smalls created a day I could be proud of. You may ask, Jim, what about failures? Allow me to smile. Failures aren't a reason to stop. They're a manual showing you where to strengthen the structure. Once I blew an important deal, painful, embarrassing. I went home and wrote down where I was unprepared, which words I chose poorly, how I would conduct that conversation tomorrow. I turned the mistake into an instruction. The next meeting went better. That's what your journal is for. Not pretty phrases, but honest inventory. Because whoever doesn't keep records easily deceives themselves. Now I want you to close your eyes for a moment and see 2 frames. The first, you in 10 years tired with a long list of some days. The second, you in 10 years, calm, attentive, in a house built from your habits. I know which frame you'll choose. And do you know what's most joyful? Between them, there's no abyss. Between them, a series of small turns of the wheel. 5 to 10% more effort added to what you already do can change your trajectory to a completely different shore. But that's not all. In the practical part, I'll give you simple questions that will turn these frames into an action map. For now, remember the main thing. We either choose the path or the path chooses us. And finally, a small promise to myself, which I once signed on a blank page. I will not allow a day to end without one step toward my garden, no matter how small. One call, one page, one honest conversation, 1 minute of silence instead of unnecessary words. When a day ends with a small victory, but the decade gains amazing speed. That's why I insist so much. Don't wait for mood. Don't wait for weather. Don't wait for permission. Become the one who acts, and the feelings will catch up. Now let's breathe. Do you already feel the course leveling out? That's normal. Change always begins quietly. We will continue unfolding these ideas in the next part, add new perspectives, and a few more stories from my path. And at the end, practical steps to help you lay the foundation for the next 10 years starting today. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. I always repeated to myself and my listeners, your future is hidden in how you spend your minutes. Money can be lost and earned again, but time is irreversible. And it's time, not fate or luck, that builds the next 10 years. When I was young, I thought change would come on its own, that it was enough to wish, to wait, or even to pray, and everything would fall into place. But my mentor, Mr. Shoaff, shattered this illusion. He said, Jim, if you want things to change, you must change. If you want a better future, you must become better yourself. This simple truth turned my mind upside down. I understood. Desire is only the beginning, but desire without discipline turns into disappointment. We don't get in life what we want, we get what we become. This is the law of the mirror. Want more respect? Become a person impossible not to respect. Want more money? Become someone who brings more value to the marketplace. Want more harmony in relationships? Begin to radiate the energy you yourself want to receive in return. But friends, here's the most interesting part. To change an entire decade, you don't have to break your whole life. You only need to make small but systematic adjustments. I call this the 10% rule. You're already doing many things right. You work, you take care of your family, you have dreams. But often what's missing is only those extra 5 to 10%. A new book, a new habit, a new hour of discipline. And it's exactly those that determine whether you'll meet your decade with joy or with disappointment. I know what it feels like to start from scratch, when you have only coins in your pocket and doubts in your heart. I too sat in a cafe, looked at people in expensive suits and thought, will I ever be among them? And then I discovered another principle. Act as if you already own what you strive for. If you want confidence, stand tall today. If you want wealth, start keeping records and counting your pennies as if they were millions. If you want wisdom, start talking to books as if they were friends. And the miracle is that when you act as if, that state becomes your nature. And now let's pause and face the truth. We all fight a battle, but not with neighbors, not with the economy, not with competitors. The most important battle is you against yourself. Are you today better than you were yesterday? Are you making at least one step so that tomorrow you can say, I grew? Most people lose this battle because they're too busy comparing themselves with others. They look at others' achievements and forget that the true compass is one's own progress, not someone else's. And one more lesson I learned. Discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement. You may have 100 dreams, but without the bridge of daily effort, you'll never cross from the shore of intentions to the shore of results. And discipline begins with the small, 5 minutes of exercise, a page of a book, a single call. And if you honestly take these small steps, they become the foundation for great accomplishments. Friends, I want you to imagine right now 2 scenarios of your life 10 years from now. In the first, you wake up with the bitter feeling, I wasted years. In the second, with pride, I built every day, and here is the result. And you know what's most important? These 2 scenarios are not separated by mountains or oceans. They are separated only by your decisions today. But that's not all. Because in the next part, we'll talk about the power of the inner garden, your mind. I'll show you why the most important guard is the watchman at the gate of thought, because it's exactly what you let into your head every day that determines the fruits you'll gather years from now. And that will be a key turning point in our journey. There is one invisible gate through which your decade passes, the door of the mind. Once I let in every guest without question, other people's fears, gossip from the morning news, my own doubts disguised as healthy skepticism. And I wondered why the day ended not with strength but with emptiness. Until I realized something simple. Just as a garden needs a fence from rabbits, the mind needs a guard. From that day I appointed myself the guard. What does that mean in practice? Before every thought, a question. Do you lead me in my chosen direction or pull me aside? Most of the noise falls away right there, and suddenly silence appears in which you can hear your own compass. But a guard without a journal is like a security officer without a logbook. Don't trust memory, it has a short workday. I began writing things down, an idea in the morning, a mistake at noon, a conclusion in the evening. A record is an anchor for thinking. It won't let a day slip away without a lesson. You'll be surprised how quickly new self-respect appears when the pages accumulate proof of your determination. And a journal also eases anxiety. When thoughts are on paper, they stop being scary. They can be organized, corrected, turned into tasks. There is another quiet force, evening. For a long time, I believed in magical mornings and underestimated wise evenings. But real progress began when I made a ritual of summing up the day. 5 minutes of honesty, what I did well, what I messed up, what I learned. Then, a plan for tomorrow with 3 priorities. Why 3? Because tomorrow dozens of noisy urgencies will show up, and your 3 things will protect your course. This simple evening bridge builds a calm morning, and a calm morning pulls a productive day. Step by step, that's how a solid decade is stitched together. Let me tell you a story. Once after a failed presentation, I came home crushed. I wanted to turn on the TV and forget. Instead, I sat with a blank sheet and broke the failure into parts. I didn't prepare examples. I spoke faster than I thought. I didn't look people in the eye. I wrote down how I'd do it tomorrow. Start with a question. Give a pause after each key thought. Finish with a short summary. A week later, I spoke differently and heard for the first time something that still warms me. That was clear. No luck, no magic. I just made the mistake work for me. That's what the guard at the gate of thought and a journal at hand do. They turn yesterday's pain into tomorrow's mastery. Now about the temptation of all or nothing. It eats up more dreams than laziness. We miss the gym, then forget today, we break the diet at lunch, then let dinner be a feast. We don't finish a chapter. Then tomorrow I'll double it. My friends, the future is saved by crumbs. If the train is late, walk a block. If you go off track, turn back at the nearest corner, not after 5 towns. All that is great is built from small, I still did it. Each such still did it is a vote for your identity. I am the one who gets back on course, and with time the course begins to hold you. Let me leave you with an image. Imagine a compass and a magnet. The compass, your decade choice. Health, freedom, family, work. The magnet, daily little things that pull you aside. Endless feeds, other people's quarrels, aimless chatter. If you keep a compass next to a magnet, the needle goes crazy. That's why I removed the magnets from my pockets. Notifications off, the morning hour untouchable, meetings filtered by, does this lead me there? No, I didn't become an ascetic. I became a navigator. And believe me, once the needle is freed, the journey becomes more enjoyable than the destination. And now about the price. We all want high results for a low cost. But the laws of life are stitched differently. You either pay now with discipline or later with disappointment. I chose to pay up front in small daily installments. A page, a step, a conversation, a plan. At first it seems expensive, but a year later you look at the dividends and smile. Discipline turns out to be cheaper than regret. Where does inspiration fit in? It comes when it sees that it can trust you. When inspiration feels your notes, your small done, your evening reviews, it sits beside you. And while it hasn't come, work. By working, you silently call it, and it comes silently. That's how lightness appears, not at the start, but after a series of investments. Now let's do something rarely done while watching motivational videos. Not just listening, but thinking in motion. I promise it will take only a few minutes, but the payoff can last a decade. Let me explain the scale. Rate each question from 1 to 10, where 1 means not at all, I'm starting from 0, and 10 means yes, I'm at my maximum and I see the fruits. Don't pause the video. Answer intuitively with the first number that comes to mind. Later, when we're finished, return to these questions in your journal and break down what to strengthen. The first question concerns your inner compass. How clearly do you see your image 10 years from now? Not vague words, but a concrete day from your future, where you live, how you start your morning, what you do better than your present self, whom you serve with your value. Give it a score and imagine holding a compass. If the needle jumps, there's a magnet of randomness nearby. If it stands steady, the path is already emerging. The second question, about the rhythm of the day, because a decade is built morning by morning. How steadily do your mornings and evenings work for you? Do you have a morning hour without news and outside noise? Do you have an evening reflection with 3 main takeaways and tomorrow's priorities? Rate from 1 to 10. Imagine that each evening is a quiet harbor where you repair the sails. Without this harbor, even the best ship grows worn and deaf to the wind of opportunities. The third question, about the guard at the gate of the mind. How carefully do you filter what you let into your head? Conversations, headlines, rumors, your own self-accusations. Your score reflects the strength of the gate around your garden. Remember the image? A garden without a fence quickly loses its flowers, but a garden with a strong fence bears fruit even in stormy weather. If you give yourself a low number, don't scold yourself. Just decide today to remove 1 magnet from your pocket, a notification, a channel, a habit. The fourth question, about the bridge between desire and results, about the discipline of small steps. How consistently do you do the minimum each day? 1 page of reading, 1 step for health, 1 call or letter, 1 journal entry. Rate honestly. Picture a brick. Even the humblest, laid daily, builds a wall that protects your plans from rains and winds, while perfect bricks sitting in the box of intentions build nothing. The fifth question, about responsibility for your course. How quickly do you return to the path after slipping off? You miss the plan, and immediately make a tiny still did it to restore motion. Give it a number. It's like the steering wheel in the driver's hands. It doesn't matter that the car swayed. What matters is how sensitively you hold the trajectory. That's where self-respect is born. Every I came back stitches into your identity the line, I am the person who finishes what I start. Good. Now we have 5 numbers. Without pauses or regrets, let's do some small algebra of action. Look at your lowest score. That's your gold mine, where the greatest growth is hidden for the smallest cost. Write down 1 micro decision for the next 24 hours. Just 1. If it's the compass, describe 3 details of your ideal day 10 years from now. If it's rhythm, block 20 morning minutes without screens and 5 evening minutes for review. If it's the guard, switch off 1 source of noise. If it's discipline, choose your minimum. 1 page, 1 exercise, 1 contact. If it's returning to the course, make a deal with yourself on the nearest turn rule. If you slip, make a tiny correction now. And 1 more quick round for those who want to strengthen the sense of progress today. Look at your second lowest score and add a second micro decision. Not heroic, manageable. Our task is not to impress the world, but to shift the trajectory. And when tomorrow morning you see that both decisions are done, your brain will get proof. I am trustworthy. And from that proof, a new story begins. Friends, if this video is already helping you sketch the map of the next 10 years, subscribe, leave a like, and write in the comments your lowest score and your 24-hour micro decision. This isn't for statistics, it's for reinforcement. When we say it aloud and write it down, we close the deal with ourselves. And I promise in the next episodes to share more tools, how to build weekly sprints, how to keep focus amid the noise, how to turn mistakes into a learning plan. And as we agreed at the start, don't pause the video now. Just mark your numbers in your head. After it's over, return with your journal and write out each answer, what my number means to me, and what 1 proof I'll create tomorrow to raise it by 1. Don't chase 10s, chase growth. A 10 is the harvest, growth is the sowing, and the sowing done today always outruns the one still waiting for perfect weather. Imagine we've reached the final chord together. This is the moment when it's no longer about facts or advice, it's the moment of truth. Because our whole journey about 10 years ahead, about choosing the road, about those few disciplines that change everything, comes down to one simple but profound question: who will you become? I've often said, don't chase success, become someone success cannot pass by. And it's true. Life is a mirror. It doesn't reflect our wishes. It reflects our character, our daily actions, our small steps. If today you sow chaos, tomorrow you'll reap confusion. If you sow discipline and honesty, tomorrow you'll harvest trust and confidence. There was a day when I told myself, I will no longer deceive myself. And that day changed my future. I realized that no one would give me permission to live better. No one would gift me another 10 years. They will pass anyway. The only question is, who will I become when I get there? My mentor once challenged me, where will you be in 5 years? Are you reading the books that can take you there? It was painful but honest. And then I saw, my life is me against myself. Not me against my neighbor, not me against the economy. Me against my laziness, against my excuses, against my own yesterday. My friend, right now, you stand before the mirror of the future. It doesn't show others' opinions. It shows only your steps. And if you want to see greatness, begin sowing it today, because tomorrow is already too late. Life does not wait. So my closing word is this: become the person you want to be in 10 years. Now, act as if you're already there. Love as if you've already grown wiser. Work as if the world is waiting for your greatness, and it will receive it, because in the end, none of us has any other road than the one we ourselves build, brick by brick, thought by thought, day by day.